brothers and sisters, we know that, and we focus on its prophetic utterance. The Bible is we believe, is the word Bible means book, and we believe that this particular book is different and special above all other books because we call it the holy or set apart scripture, the set apart written words that were written. We mentioned earlier, prophets of the Israelite nation. And these words have been spread throughout the earth. The words of these prophets of the Israelite nation have been spread throughout the earth. And so we know that the Bible is a book that gives us prophetic utterance. It tells us what the future holds and what's going to happen in the future. The Bible also gives us teachings. As we know, the centerpiece of the teachings is the covenant of the Most High. And there are teaching statutes, commandments, judgments that he teaches us how to deal on this earth with each other so that we will live glory. He teaches us statutes and judgments and commandments. Also, though, the Bible also shows us history. It shows us history. It doesn't necessarily show us, well, it does kind of show us world history in the sense of how the earth is going to be right before it is destroyed. It does show us that. And it shows us the progression of sin on the earth. But it shows us history in the sense of the history of the children of Israel and how their history is impacting everybody on the earth and is repeated throughout the earth, because history is often. And in doing that, the Bible never pulls any punches. It shows you exactly what happens. It shows you exactly the good, the bad, and the ugly. It shows you everything. And some people look at that aspect of the word and they condemn it. They say, well, you know, if God lives and if he's doing all this, why did he allow these things to happen? You know, why did he allow this and why did he allow that? And the people that say these things are mostly willfully ignorant, because, and I say willfully ignorant because they really don't want to know. Last night we talked about this a little bit, but people really don't want to know. Like, for example, when somebody asks, you know, if God is a God of love, why does he allow people to kill each other on the earth? Why does he allow disease? Why does he allow wars and bombings and the famines? If he's such a God of love, why does he allow all of that? And what people will not receive is the answer to that question. Because the answer to that question is human beings chose death. Human beings were given free choice from the Creator, and they chose war, and they chose rebellion, and they chose disease, and they chose famine. This is the choice that human beings received from their own self. Okay? We chose these things when our father Adam chose to rebel against the covenant and commandments of the Most High. The Most High allowed us to have this free choice. This is the answer they will not receive. Yet this is the true answer to that question. Why is death, disease, and famine, and rape and murder on the earth? Because human beings as a human race chose those things. Because with the desire to be a God, you take on responsibilities, and then you take on character traits. And there's only one true God, there's only one true Most High, and he tried to tell us that it was so, but we didn't believe him, and we chose our own way. And what you are seeing on the earth in terms of death, in terms of injustice, in terms of famine, in terms of corruption, what you are seeing is the results of our choice. What you are seeing is what the earth would actually look like under the dominion of Ashatan. That's what you're seeing. Okay? So all of the people that want to claim, well, if he's a God of love, why is he allowing that? They need to look in the mirror, because it is your family, your ancestors chose this. And the thing is that we in this day and age, we should not think that we are somehow better than our ancestors, because we're still choosing the same thing. You know, people will cry. Have you ever seen people get upset? Animals are treated. They see a dog that's abused, and there are people that will go out of their way to adopt abused, right? Right? So they'll adopt cats that have been abused, and people have abused dogs. People have beaten dogs and left them to starve and set them on fire. People have treated animals like horrendous ways, much less also human beings. And there are people that are be so heartbroken over how a dog was treated or how a cat was treated, and they'll walk into a supermarket and eat a chopped up cow or a chopped up strangled chicken, right? Or the eggs of a chicken. They'll eat these things after being whining about how a dog was treated. And you see, and they'll eat the pig. You go into a slaughterhouse and you see how they stuff chickens into a small, tiny little cage, 6 and 7 at a time. And then they just roll them through machines and just mercilessly destroy them. And people will be whining about how a dog or a cat is treated. It's amazing. But that's the hypocrisy of the earth people. See, those same people that'll tell you, well, if God is a God of love, why does he allow this? They'll go into the restaurant and order a steak that's been from some dead cow that was separated from his baby, and his milk was taken from him, and it was killed for them to eat it and enjoy it in a restaurant, right? It's hypocrisy. I heard one. She was crying. I'm not even lying. She was crying because she was a vegan, and she showed a video and she showed the slaughterhouses on the video, and she saw how they were, mercilessly pushing them cows with bats and sticks and beating them, and then cause them to be killed and destroying the chickens, and she was crying, right? Yet she flippantly, very, very carelessly said she had an abortion because she didn't want to bring babies into this earth. She just killed a baby, right? See what I'm saying? It's crazy. Okay, so these same people that are out here questioning the Most High, they're still perpetuating the same death that our ancestors chose. Okay, yeah, they're still perpetuating the same death that our ancestors chose, right? And so it's hypocrisy of the highest order. That's why, brothers and sisters, we have to be real, right? We have to be real, and we have to be honest and sincere with the Most High's words. I have found people that have disparaged the Bible really haven't studied the Bible. They've studied parts of the Bible, and that really irritates me, because I hate when people try to criticize something that they haven't fully studied out. So you're criticizing a book that you've only half or partially studied, or with half the knowledge, right? You're criticizing it. You haven't really studied the whole thing. You haven't really seen it in context, and you're criticizing this book. It's amazing. So that's why I don't really concern myself with such people that ask those questions. It used to bother me. I said, man, I wish I could answer that question, man. But no, it don't bother me anymore, because now I know the truth. I've studied the Bible through. I've read it through several times. I see the situation. And that's the truth of the matter is, we brought all this mess on ourselves. That's the truth of it. We brought all this mess on ourselves. We chose war and famine and death and dying and destruction. We brought it on ourselves. And anybody that says otherwise is just making an excuse, and they're being willfully ignorant. Because you can see it all the time. Here, what we have in the United States of America, in Washington, D.C., check it out. We have a president, right? And we have a Congress, and we have a Senate, and we have a Supreme Court, right? That's what you got, right? You got a president, you got a Congress, they call it separation of powers. And you got Congress, and you got Supreme Court, and you got President, Congress, Supreme Court, and Senate, right? Now, if you really examine the situation, it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to break Republican or Democrat here, because we don't believe in that. But what I'm saying, those senators, many of them have been, now the Senate serves for 6 years. That's the term of a senator, 6 years. But many of them cats that's in the Senate have been there for like 20 years, They've been there like 20 years or 30 years. They've been there a long time. And they give themselves raises, right? And then they give themselves raises and they cut programs because they say there's wasteful spending. Okay? It's hypocrisy. And these people have political power because all of the tax dollars that come from the citizens of the United States, it goes to them. They are controlling trillions of dollars. So they can pay an army, right, to keep you and me in check, right? If we get out of check, they can arrest us and throw us in jail, and they control all the money. Huh? And they have power. They can vote themselves raises and health care, and they can tell you and I what to do. And we are so dumbed down, huh? We are so dumbed down that all they have to do is use all of the millions and tens of millions of dollars that they got, right, from the corporations that paid them off. All they got to do is put their face on television, constantly barraging us with advertisements about how good they are, and some fool will vote for them. You don't know nothing about them. Like later on, you might find out one of them's a pedophile or had sex with some boy, right? Or later on, you might find out this one cheated on their wife. Or later on, you might find, but you know, you voted for them because of how they looked on their commercial, huh? How you heard them sound. You don't know nothing about them, and they manipulating the whole country. This is not just something that's happening now. This has been happening. This has been the political system for a long time, and this is in America, right? So we're being controlled. And so, brothers and sisters, what I wanted to illustrate today is the Bible shows us exactly how things are. And as the children of Israel, and that's, you know, we are not a denomination. Somebody asks you, what are your religion? What are you? I'm an Israelite. I'm part of a nation. I don't represent a religion. I represent a nation. I'm part of a nation, the nation of Israel. I'm not a denomination. I'm not in anybody's church. And so, as Israelite nation, the Bible tells us about who we are, and it tells us about how we got here. And it's important, brothers and sisters, that we know these things. And I want to show you some ugly things in the scriptures. You say, brother, what are you talking about? I want to show you some ugliness in the scriptures. And I want to show you why the ugliness exists. I want to show you this. I was reading this in the book of Judges, right? As I'm reading through the scriptures. Let me say it carefully. I don't like reading the book of Judges because it shows an ugly history of Israel. It shows an ugly history, and it shows why there was an ugly history. That's why I have trouble reading it, but I read it because it's part of the Bible. And so every year I go through the book of Judges. Just finished it this morning, and it shows an ugly history. But the last verse of the last chapter of the book of Judges kind of sums up the situation. Notice what it says here. In Judges chapter 21, verse 25, it kind of sums up the situation that took place in the book of Judges. And the book of Judges spans about 400 years of history. It's only 21 chapters, but it spans about 400 years of Israelite history. And notice what it says here. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Okay, so the author is telling you there was no king. In other words, they're saying there was nobody to keep order. And everybody did what he thought was right or wrong, according to what he thought was right or wrong. When you live like that, brothers and sisters, when you live like that, you end up with problems. And so they did. They ended up with problems. I want to show you in Judges this very ugly story. In Judges chapter 19, believe me, there's a point to it. In Judges chapter 19, let's look at this story. Judges 19, I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 6. Actually, from verse 1 down to verse 3. I'm sorry, from 1 to 3, sorry. I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but I'm going to skip around a bit. And it came to pass in those days when there was, and it mentions again, there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took to him a concubine out of Bethlehem, Judah. And his concubine played the whore against him, and went away from him unto her father's house to Bethlehem, Judah, and was there 4 whole months. And her husband arose and went after her to speak friendly unto her and to bring her again, having his servant with him and a couple of asses. And she brought him unto her father's house, into her father's house. And when the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet her. So here, let's look at the story. So there's a man of the tribe of Judah, all right? And he had a wife or a concubine. Okay, it says it was a concubine. And the concubine played the whore against him with somebody else. And then after she did that, she went back to her father's house. He wanted to forgive her and bring her back. He went to her father's house to go get her. And when and then she was amenable to go back with him. And the father, the woman's father, rejoiced and said, "I'm glad, you guys are going to get back together. Come on in." And so they spent about almost a week eating and drinking and celebrating together. That this was going to be a situation they were coming back. So this woman had cheated on him, and he was going back to get her. Okay, now, of course. What would be the situation? Now, of course, the Bible tells us when a woman did that, and what was supposed to happen, they were supposed to be stoned to death. But this man didn't want to stone his woman to death. He was trying to win her back, right? She's supposed to be stoned to death. He was trying to win her back. And that's cool, right? He's trying to forgive her, and he's trying to win her back. Now, they go and they leave the father's house, and they're on their way back. He actually lived in Ephraim. In the land of Ephraim. He went to Bethlehem, Judah to get the woman, but he lived in Ephraim. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. So he was headed back to where he lived with his wife now, with his concubine. Okay. Now let's skip down. Let's go to verse 10. I'm gonna read from verse 10 of this same chapter, from verse 10 down to verse 18. Notice what it said. But the man would not tarry that night, but he rose up and departed and came over against Jebus, which is Jerusalem. And there were with him 2 asses saddled, his concubine also with him. And when they were by Jebus, the day was far spent. And the servant said unto his master, "Come, I pray thee, let us turn into this city of the Jebusites and lodge in it." And his master said unto him, "We will not turn aside hither into the city of a stranger that is not of the children of Israel. We will pass over into Gibeah." And he said unto his servant, "Come and let us draw near to one of these places to lodge all night in Gibeah or in Ramah." And they passed on and went their way. And the sun went down upon them when they were by Gibeah, which belongeth to Benjamin. So they were cutting through Benjamin's land on the way to where they were. Okay. And they turned aside thither to go in and to lodge in Gibeah. And he went in and sat down in the street of the city, for there was no man that took to lodging. And behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field at even, which was also of Mount Ephraim. He sojourned in Gibeah, but the men of the place were Benjamites. And when he had lifted up his eyes, he saw a wayfaring man in the street of the city. And the old man said, "Whither goest thou? And whence comest thou?" And he said unto him, "We are passing from Bethlehem, Judah, toward the side of Mount Ephraim. From thence I went to Bethlehem, Judah, but now I am going to the house of Yahweh, and there is no man receiveth, and no man, and there is no man that receiveth me to house." Now let me stop here. So obviously it was a common practice that when a stranger from one of the tribes came into your place, somebody was supposed to put him up. That's a nice thing, right? So the Most High set it up so that if one of the brothers come from another tribe and he came into your land, it's your duty as a brother. You're not gonna let him stay in the street all night. You're gonna bring him into your house. So this man was passing through the land of the children of Benjamin. He was on his way to Ephraim. He says, going to the house of Yahweh. That was at Ephraim at that time. He's on his way to Ephraim. It wasn't in Jerusalem yet. They called it still the Jebusites. So they hadn't completely taken it over yet. And they were going, and they ran into this man that was also of the children of Ephraim, but he lived in the land of Benjamin. So this man was old man coming out of the field where he worked, and he's an Ephraim person. He's from Ephraim, but they lived in the land. He lived in the land of Benjamin, and he saw the man in the street, and he's going to take him in. He said, I'm going to take you in. You're not going to stay out in the street. That's how brothers are supposed to act. See, brothers and sisters, when we follow the Most High, and we follow his commandments, statutes, and judgment. This is the way it is. Brothers will end up sharing stuff. And this is how it's going to be when we're in the land. Nobody's going to be without shelter. And nobody's going to be without food. Nobody's going to be without anything when we come back into the land, when we fulfill the promise. But you remember what happened here is there was no king, and every man did what was right in his own eyes. So now they kind of loosely following the Torah, but not exactly, right? They're kind of loosely following it, but they're combining the ways of the heathen with the ways of the Most High. They're kind of confused, although they're still in the land, right? Okay, so let's continue. Judges chapter 19, I'm going to read from verse 20 down to verse 22. Let's see what happened. Judges chapter 19 from verse 20 down to verse 22. And the old man said, peace be with thee. Howsoever, let all thy wants lie upon me. Praise the Most High. Only lodge not in the street. So he brought him into his house, and he gave provender unto the asses, and they washed their feet and did eat and drink. So it was common. They washed their feet, they cleaned themselves, and they sat down to eat. Now, as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, beset the house round about and beat at the door and spake unto the master of the house, the old man, saying, bring forth the man that came unto thine house, that we may know him. Wow. So these are the children of Benjamin. They surround this old man's house, and they knew that he had a guest, and they said, we want your guest. We want to rape him. We want your guest to rape him. We want to that we may know him. You know, you'll see that same verbiage if you read the account of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Because Lot allowed the two angels to come into his house, and then the men of Sodom and Gomorrah came and said, they knocked on Lot's door and said, we want them two guests that came in, we want to rape them. We want to know. When he says that we may know him, it's not like we want to say hello. They want to say, we want to rape you. We want to do a homosexual rape on you. Anal rape. We want to anally rape you. That's what they say. So here's the children of Benjamin. Now, brothers and sisters, these are the chosen people, right? They in the promised land, right? And notice what's happening here. Why? Because every man did what was right in his own eyes. They forgot the Most High. I want to also say this to you, brothers and sisters. I want to say this now. If you are part of the nation of Israel, if you have become through faith in Messiah part of this nation, then guess what? I want to just tell you, this history is your history. Are you following me? This is part of your history too. This is you. This is your people. This is what they were doing. You understand what I'm saying? So we can't really say it was them. It's our fathers did this foolishness, right? So they knocked on the door and they said, hey, where's that man that came into your house? Bring him out here so we can rape him. Okay, wait a minute. Watch this. Judges, this is the ugliness. We got to show the whole thing, right? You can't just show nice things. You got to show everything that happened. Okay. Judges chapter 19. Too late to pray for him now. Judges chapter 19, from chapter 19, verse 23, from verse 23 down to verse 25. And the master of the house went out unto them and said unto them, nay, my brethren, nay, I pray you, do not so wickedly, seeing that this man is coming to my house. Do not this follow. Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Them I will bring out now, and humble ye them, and do with them what seemeth good unto you. But unto this man do not so a vile thing. But the men would not hearken to him. So the man took his concubine and brought her forth unto them. And they knew her and abused her all night until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go. So I don't know how many men they were, but they raped that poor girl all night. They took turns raping her all night. Children of Benjamin, okay? Now you say, dang, man, why are you going to save the brother and let the sister go out there and get raped like that? Well, brothers and sisters, let me explain to you. You notice the same thing that he said, Lot said. If you look at Sodom and Gomorrah's situation, you will see the same verbiage. Lot said, I have a daughter. I'll give you the daughter. Don't do this to the man, right? And why were they doing that? I want to tell you something. Please don't get it twisted. Don't think that the Most High is in favor of what Lot suggested or what this man suggested here. You have to remember, they were following the customs of the area. They were following the customs of the people around whom they lived. That was a lot of the things that were taught from the Most High were also customs that were of the area in which they lived. If you recall, Judah thought that his daughter-in-law played the whore against his son because she was pregnant. Wouldn't say that it was Judah got her pregnant. Wouldn't say who got her pregnant. And Judah said, bring her forth and let her be burnt. The Most High hadn't given them that instruction yet, but that was something that was common to the area in which they lived. So it was common to the area that a woman was expendable, but a man wasn't expendable. Now, a true follower of Israel would not let the woman or the man, right? But this is how they live at that time. Okay, this is how they live at that time. Don't want y'all to think that the Most High believes in abuse of women. He does not believe in abuse of women. And in fact, we know from the scriptures that there was a penalty for rape, right? Y'all know there was a penalty for rape. You remember that? What was the penalty for rape? For rape. It was death, right? It was death, exactly right. The penalty for rape is death. Okay? The penalty for rape is death. So that's why let's look at it. In fact, let's look at the law just to make sure we got it straight. Deuteronomy chapter 22. Deuteronomy chapter 22. I'm going to read from verse 22 down to verse 25. From verse 22, actually to verse 26. Okay? From verse 22 to verse 27, sorry. Deuteronomy chapter 22, from verse 22 to verse 27. This shows what the Most High, what the law says with regard to this situation. If a man be found lying with a woman married to a husband, and then they both of them, then they shall both of them die. Both the man that lay with the woman and the woman, so shalt thou put away evil from Israel. If a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto a husband, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, then ye shall bring them both out into the gate of that city, and ye shall stone them with stones that they die. The damsel because she cried not, being in the city, and the man because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife. So shalt thou put away evil from among you. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. But unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death, as when a man rises against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. So if a woman didn't, if a woman is engaged to be married, to the Bible, when they're betrothed, that means you're married. He just hasn't had sex with you yet, but you that man's wife, right? So when you lay with somebody else and you betrothed to a man and you just laying with them because you want to, he said both of y'all are supposed to die. But if you cry, if you being raped, you're supposed to yell, cry out, fight. And so if you're in a city, somebody's going to hear you and they're going to come to your rescue. But if you're in the field and you yell, cry out, and try to fight and nobody saves you, it's not your fault. That makes sense, brothers and sisters? So then the rapist is put to death. So in this situation, okay, so in this situation here, when these men come and this man threw his woman out there, they raping her. She's not like saying, okay, come on, boys, come and get it. No, they snatching her and they abuse. The Bible says they knew her and abused her all night until the morning. So all that night until the sun started rising, they were raping this poor girl. Okay, and she died. She died as a result of that. She died as a result of that. And then I'll let you know what happened after that. There was war, and all the tribes came to fight against Benjamin, and Benjamin fought against all the tribes, and it got real ugly. It got real ugly. And why? Why did all that happen? Because every man did what was right in his own eyes. Well, let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. They did not need a king to have order. The Most High gave them his law. He gave them the Levites. And that was supposed to be how they kept order, right? They were supposed to keep order by obedience to his law. Let me explain something to you. So they began following the heathen that were around them. I started off by telling you that as Israelites, we are pilgrims on this earth. Listen to me carefully. The Bible says that we are strangers and pilgrims on this earth. Now, we may have citizenships on these earthly nations. You know, we may be legal citizens of America or Canada or wherever nation you might be a legal citizen of. But really, our first obedience and allegiance is to the law of the Most High Yah. Huh? That's our allegiance. Now, as Israelites, there are things that we can't do. Like, for example, we can't put a rapist to death if we catch him in America because there's a law and we got to turn him in, right? Because it's not our land. There are things that we would do if we were in the land. Like if we caught a rapist in the land of Israel, we just saw it, penalty's death, right? Penalty's death. There'd be no question. That man must be put to death immediately. His sentence is carried out that day, okay? But we can't do that because we're not in our land. People get this confused. That's why I like to bring these points out because, for example, we can't keep feasts in our enemy's land. You can't keep feasts of Yah in the enemy's land. You can't keep the Passover. You can't keep the Feast of Weeks. You can't keep the Feast of the Tabernacles because those feasts are supposed to be kept in the land of promise, and they are actually celebrations that of our deliverance to the land of promise. So that's why we can't really keep feasts in these lands. There are brothers and sisters that keep feasts, and they think they're keeping Yom Kippur and the Passover, and that's all good. But the Most High gave us those feasts as celebrations for us to keep in the land. So there's certain things we can't do while we're not in the promised land. Certain things we could never carry out. But of course, regardless of wherever we are always under the obligation to be obedient to the covenant of Yah. Does that make sense, brothers and sisters? Regardless of where we are, regardless, the children of Israel, if you look in the Bible, if you look when Daniel and them was carried away captive to Babylon, if you look at the kingdom of Persia, if you look at what they was in those stories in Esther and Nehemiah and Ezra, and you look at all of that, you will see that when they were carried away captive, they still kept the Sabbath, regardless of where they were. Even in Egypt, remember the Egyptian Pharaoh got mad because he told Moses, you make the people to rest, because they were in Egypt keeping the Sabbath. So you can keep the covenant regardless of where you are. And in fact, you're expected to keep the covenant. That's part of what causes the Most High to turn our captivity. Our captivity begins to be turned when we're obedient through Messiah to the covenant, no matter what land we're in. And that's why he said, I'm going to call you from the east, the west, the north, the south, and I'm going to bring you to your own land. And why does he say I'm going to do that? Because you remembered your sin. You remembered where you fall from, and you began to be obedient. You began to be sorry for your sin. You repented. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and what? Turn from their wicked ways. Well, that means keep the covenant. Turn from their wicked ways. Then will I hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. So we're obligated as Israelites to be obedient to the covenant. And that is why, brothers and sisters, we are strangers and pilgrims on the earth, because as long as the laws of whatever land you're in, you know, whatever land you're in, whether you're in South Africa, you're in South America, you're in whatever continent you're in, Australia, or wherever you are, as long as those laws don't go against a covenant of the Most High, we cool. We got no problem. As long as your law, Mr. Caesar, as long as your law doesn't violate our commitment to the covenant, we got no problem. See, that's why the children of Israel will not be found marching in the streets of Washington. Are you listening to me, brothers? The true children of Israel are not going to be found, because we know we're not getting our answers from Washington. We know we're not getting our answers from any government entity. This is their worldly business. You understand? This is their business. Our business is obedience to the covenant, and we're going to be good citizens of whatever country we're in, whether it's capitalist, communist, socialist, whatever it is, as long as it doesn't cross with the covenant. All right, we good. We good. As long as it doesn't cross with the covenant, we good. They can pass all their crooked laws, and yes, it's gonna mess some of us up. They're gonna, especially Hebrew Israelites, the people of color, the melanated Hebrew Israelites are gonna get dogged. We always get the worst of the stick whenever Washington does anything. That's par for the cause. We're gonna get the lowest pay, we're gonna get dogged. We're gonna catch hell. We know that's happening. But you know what? We still have to be obedient to the covenant. Amen. That's the main thing. We be obedient to the covenant of the Most High. And regardless, you know what I found? And maybe you have found the same thing. If you're obedient to the covenant of Yah, He's gonna take care of you. I'm not saying He's gonna cause you to be rich. Don't get it twisted. I'm not preaching no get rich gospel here, because the Most High don't want us. Let me tell you something. It's not for Israelites to pile up Caesar's Federal Reserve notes. Y'all need to understand that, because many of our brothers don't get it. It's not for us as Israelites to worry about getting rich in Caesar's world. That's not what it's about. When the children of Israel were wealthy, they were wealthy where? In their land. Abraham got blessed in the land of Canaan. And Jacob got blessed in the land of Canaan. It was their land. You understand? The children of Israel became wealthy in their land. It's not for us to get wealthy in Babylon. If you recall, that was part of the problem. They had went and got captives in Babylon, and Jeremiah was told, tell him this, Jeremiah, and he did. Go ahead, marry sons and daughters in Babylon. Go ahead, get jobs, take care of your business in Babylon, because you're going to be there for a while. Exactly 70 years you're going to be there. So they did that, but they started getting comfortable, and they started taking out mortgages on their brother's property, and they started marrying foreign wives, and they got too comfortable. And then when it was time to return to the land, they had to raise up prophets, Haggai and Zechariah, and they had to be raised up to rebuke them, because they started acting like they was from foreign heathen lands. Had to put away all them idol worshiping wives they married. You understand? They were rebuked, got too caught up in it. But they supposed to prosper in the land, not in Caesar's world. We're not looking to hit lotto and become $100, 100, 300 million or whatever. That's Caesar's game, man. That printed note belongs to him. That's not the Most High. But He will take care of us, right? He's gonna provide for us. We're gonna get what we need. We're gonna have food, shelter, clothing. He's gonna take care of us. If we're obedient to His covenant, He's gonna take care of us, right? He promised He's gonna do that, and He will, and He does. But remember, they started getting in trouble. That is, our fathers, started getting in trouble when we started acting like there was no covenant, and we did every man what was right in his own eyes. Brothers and sisters, we need to keep the covenant. We strangers and pilgrims on the earth. Nothing here is our home. We don't have our land yet. Our land is being occupied from some fake Jews, being sponsored by Caesar's government and by Rome. Right? And Rome and Caesar, we know the dragon gives them power, seat, and great authority. So the dragon is sponsoring those fake Jews that are in that land right now. That's not for us to worry about. Okay, that's not for us. Okay. Yeah, well, the scripture says, I just saw your question, Joey. The scripture says that you can't serve Yah and Mammon. You can't serve Yah and Mammon. That's in Matthew. You can't serve Yah and Mammon. Right. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of Yah. Yeah. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of Yah. Yeah. Also, the Bible says, labor not to be rich. Cease from thine own wisdom. So when I start to see somebody, they got some commercial guy said, how you going to make 100,000 a year? This is what you got to do. Look, man, I can turn that off right now. I can turn that off right now. Because that's not what my game is. I'm not into anymore trying to get rich. Right, in Caesar's world. No, I'm trying to keep covenant with the Most High. I'm trying to keep covenant with the Most High, brothers and sisters. And let me explain this to you. Listen carefully. I'm going to ask you a question. Can you hear me? I'm going to ask you a question. Ready? If Caesar created the economic system that we have, right? If Caesar created the dollar bill that says Federal Reserve note on it, and he created this economic system in America that basically everybody's, is the envy of the world. Everybody wants this system. Who did he mean for it to bless? Who was supposed to receive the blessing of this created economic system? Who was supposed to receive the blessing? Who did he, in other words, let me ask you a question. Did he create this system for Israelites to prosper? Did he create this system for Israelites to prosper? No, that's right. That's right. He created this system for his followers, the people that are sold out to Rome. He created this system for them to prosper. Okay, that's where we get confused, brothers, because there are people out here, preaching this get rich gospel, right? And you got so-called black people, these African Americans out here telling people this is how we need to run businesses and do this and do that. Brothers and sisters, Hebrews are not created to get rich in Caesar's kingdom. No, we're trying to get out of here. We're trying to get out of here. Our situation is we're trying to get back to the promised land. We're trying to get out of here. And so we know that the path of us getting out of here is through the covenant of the Most High, through obedience from the Messiah by his spirit of righteousness. That's our path to getting out of here. And brothers and sisters, what we just read in Judges, you say, what does that got to do with this? Because brothers and sisters, when you see people that don't follow the covenant, that's supposed to follow the covenant, that's what ends up happening. Stuff like that. And so I want to tell you, you will see Hebrews, or people that should know they're Hebrews that don't, in some of the worst situations, man. You will hear and see them doing some really bad stuff. Why? Because brothers and sisters, we used to keep the covenant of the Most High, and we went away from it, and he scattered us all over the nations. We became slaves. Now we just like beasts now. Right now the black man is not even good for self right now. I mean, that's the truth about it. He's not even good for self right now. That's why you got Ben Carson standing up talking about black people was immigrants. I mean, I was like, what? Wait, what? Black people is what? I couldn't believe he said that. They were immigrants on slave ships. I was like, oh, okay. But brothers and sisters, when you don't know who you are, when you done forgot who you are, when you done lost sight of the covenant of the Most High, this is the kind of stuff you end up with. You end up being rapists and philosophers of man and talking foolishness and being in foolishness. You end up chasing dollar bills. You end up doing anything but the true thing. You understand? So brothers and sisters, it's vitally important. If you're an Israelite, for not only for you to keep covenant with the Most High, but as for his spirit, again, we need that spirit of righteousness to dwell within us and on us so that we can show people what we're supposed to be about. What we're supposed to be about. No, there was no king in Israel. And every man did what was right in his own eyes. But you know what? We have the Most High as our king. We have a king. The Most High is our king, and he has appointed Messiah, our Savior, to be king of this earth. He's going to be King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He's going to be above the U.S. president, the prime minister. He's going to be above any monarch, any communist dictator. He's going to be above all of them. He's King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And brothers and sisters, when he comes back, he ain't coming back as no suffering carpenter from Nazareth. He coming back with a sword drawn. The Bible tells us on a white horse, and he coming back in righteousness to make war, brothers and sisters. And he gonna put his stomp on this stuff. He about to end it. And brothers and sisters, what we need is to be obedient to his covenant, be obedient to him, because we're not gonna prosper in this world. Don't even see, whenever you hear somebody talking about, this is how I got rich and you can get rich, brothers and sisters, you need to turn that off right away. Turn it off. It's because it's going to divert you from the truth. It's going to divert you from the truth of the covenant of the Most High. Okay? We're not about getting rich here. We just not. I'm not saying we shouldn't save any money. I'm not saying we shouldn't take care of ourselves. Of course we should. But we're not. You save money for a rainy day. Is that true? You save money for a rainy day. That's what you saving money for. It's just prudent. You put away a little money for a rainy day. Or if somebody comes along and needs some help, you can give them a couple of dollars. Or one of your children needs something, you can give them something. That's what you save money if you can, right? But look, as far as getting rich, when you have that as your goal, you just cross signs. Now you're not with the Most High. I don't care what they say. Well, Abraham was rich. Abraham was rich. And listen, man, Abraham lived in a tent in the desert. What all that gold was going to do for him? Huh? Abraham lived in a tent in the desert, man. What all that gold going to do for him out there? What he going to buy a Mercedes or something out there? Huh? I mean, seriously. Come on, man. I mean, people come up with some foolishness, man. So this is the thing. Yeah. Let us trust in the Most High. Let us trust in his covenant. Let us understand this earth is not our home. And let us remember, if we don't follow the covenant of the Most High, you see what happened in Judges, right? That's the type of activity that takes place. Brothers and sisters, you know why? Somebody was asking me the other day, I forgot who, I think it was my daughter, but somebody was asking me, why doesn't the government do something about pornography and child pornography? I mean, they got all that power. How come they don't put this stuff out? And you know why? When people have power, the way people in government have power, and you still see billion-dollar child porn industries, you know why you see it? Because the people in power are into it. That's why. Because the people in power are into it. You say, well, how come, I notice in Washington, D.C., man, I'm telling you, you walk in certain areas of Washington, D.C., and you will see people laid out on the street, young people, middle-aged people, old people, and they ain't laid out on the street just because they poor. They laid out on the street because they hooked on heroin. There's a heroin epidemic that is now starting to raise itself up. It's been going on for the last few years. Quietly, people have been seeing heroin has come back. And so heroin is in all the big cities now. And heroin epidemic and heroin addicts are making a comeback. They was back, they was big time. There was a lot of heroin problems in the 60s and 70s due to the Vietnam War. People coming back from the war kind of tripped out and they got into heroin and stuff. But now that's coming back. Well, you say, how could tons of heroin enter into the poorest areas? How come the government can't stop that? Well, they can stop it, but they're involved with it. See, anytime the powers of this earth, you see things just continue to happen, it ain't because they don't have power to stop it. They don't want to stop it because they're involved with it. Okay, they're involved with it. That's where we at. So brothers and sisters, like I said, they could do what they want in Washington, in London, in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and in Israel. They can do what they want, brothers and sisters, that's their business. But let us keep covenant with the Most High. Because you can't trust these people. And as long as their laws don't violate the covenant of the Most High with us, like we can still keep covenant, okay, cool. Whatever they want to do, they want us to pay taxes, pay the taxes, brothers and sisters. Even if it sounds unfair to you, pay the taxes. If they legalize drugs, let them legalize it. Don't fight with them, brothers and sisters. All we need to do is keep covenant with the Most High. Let them have men and women marrying each other and adopting children. Let them do that. That's their business. But let us do what we know to be right by obedience to the covenant. Amen. By obedience to the covenant. Because brothers and sisters, let me tell you, Revelation 13 is all about just what Daniel chapter 3 is all about. Most people don't recognize it, but Daniel chapter 3 is showing you Revelation 13. You say, what do you mean, brother? Because Nebuchadnezzar was the king of literal Babylon. And Nebuchadnezzar decided that he was going to make a statue. And he brought all his top people out there to the statue. And then when they got out there, it was supposed to be a dedication of the statue. They dedicate art, they dedicate boats, they dedicate submarines. They're going to dedicate the statue. Okay. So then they went out there and he decided to turn it into a worship service. But the Hebrew that was faithful to the covenant would not bow. You know the story. It's the same thing, Revelation 13. Revelation 13, the United States of America is already risen, as it predicted in Revelation 13, into a world influential power. It's being controlled by Rome. And Rome is being controlled by the dragon. And the situation is going to develop to, they're going to get to the point where they're going to try to make everybody break the covenant. It's going to be something to do with the covenant, just like it was in Daniel. Some people looking for a Sunday law. Okay, let's say it's going to be a Sunday law. But whatever it's going to be, brothers and sisters, the only people that are going to be faithful to the Most High's covenant are the sealed people of Israel. All these denominations, I don't care if they Sabbath-keeping denominations or not, they're all going to bow to the power of Rome, because every one of these Christian denominations are man-made, and Rome controls every man-made religion, because that's why it's 666. 6 is the day that man was created, and he said man has become as one of us to know good and evil. So man took that and think he's a god. 666, brothers and sisters. It's about man-made religion, and they're going to try to make people of Yah bow to their idols. And brothers and sisters, I don't care if it's a Sunday law, I don't care if they command us to steal or whatever they command us to do, it's going to be something breaking the covenant. That's why I say, stay faithful to the covenant of the Most High. Keep covenant with him. Don't follow no churches, don't follow no man, don't follow no prophets. And I'm telling you straight up, Ellen White is not going to help you. Joseph Smith is not going to help you. Watchtower can do nothing for you. The only way you're going to be held in this time is with the word of the Most High and his spirit alone. None of the people can help you. Okay, they can't help you. So don't listen to all these people out here trying to get you in their denominations and act like you're going to be safe in there. You're going to be lost in the denominations because them denominations are man-made and they all going to be lost. Every single one of them are being controlled by Rome. Don't you get fooled by it, brothers and sisters. We're followers of the Most High Yah and of his word alone. Because it's going on, brothers and sisters. That rape that took place that we saw in Judges, hey, you know they're doing that right now, right? You know there are girls out here getting gang raped, right? You know there are men out here getting gang raped. It's that she said, well, yeah, it happens in jail. No, it's not just jail. It's happening out on the street too. Okay? It's out here. This stuff ain't just back in the Bible days. It's happening. Okay? And people of all colors are getting involved with it. People of all colors. All the countries. And you know, if people say, oh, they don't do that in my country, liar. Every country. Every country getting involved with it. Okay? Everyone. And it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. That's why for us as Israelites, let us stay faithful to the Most High. Stay faithful to his word. Stay faithful to his covenant. Ask for his spirit, because his righteousness will keep us. It will protect us. It will insulate us from all of this filth that's going to be going on all around us. Brothers and sisters, it's going to start raving mad. This next few years is going to jump off. It's coming. We need to be ready by trusting the Most High. Don't be scared. Be ready. You understand? Don't be scared. Be ready. Be ready. That's all. And as long as we got the Most High with us, you ain't got to worry about what they do. You remember, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, they brought them to the king, and they said, wait a minute. And the king said, I'm going to give you one more chance. I'm gonna give you one more chance. I'm gonna play this music, and when you hear this music, boy, you better bow. And they answered, and they said, listen, we don't even have to think about it. We're not careful to answer you in this matter. We're not careful. We ain't got to think about what we're going to say. Play the music, we not bowing. And if you toss in the fire, then we just die. We not bowing. That's what you call obedience to the Most High. That's what you call giving honor and glory to the Most High, regardless of what it costs you. That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. And that's where we going to have to be, brothers and sisters. Because it's coming to that right now. We pilgrims and strangers. Our nation is not together. Our nation is scattered. No matter what other nation you call yourself of, you are a citizen of, your true nation as an Israelite is scattered. It's not in any denomination. It's scattered throughout the earth. And it's going to be brought together when Messiah comes. He's going to bring his nation together. See, that's what I'm saying. It's not for us to bring ourselves together. It's Messiah that's going to bring us together. Praise the Most High. It's Messiah that's going to bring us together. And he's going to take us up, and we're going to end up in the land that we're supposed to. He's going to remake this earth for us. It's going to be back into a beauty that it was before our father Adam chose Satan. It's going to be back in the beauty it used to be. And we're going to have this whole earth as our range. We're not going to have any diseases and death upon it. People are going to have nations, but they're going to be righteous nations. They're going to all follow the Most High Yah. They're going to all keep covenant. And when the Sabbath comes, all the people are going to come together to worship the Most High at Jerusalem. And when the new moon comes, the new moon for the month, all the people are going to come together and worship the Most High at Jerusalem. And when it's time for a feast, oh boy, we're going to party. When it's time for a feast, we're going to really have a party. Everybody is going to come together. We're going to be dancing and singing in the street, brothers and sisters. It's going to be all good. It's going to be all good. That's what we're talking about. That's right. It's going to be all good. So they're not going to see it here, but we're going to see it in the hereafter. We're going to see it soon. It's coming. But we need our minds and hearts to be prepared. That preparation is now. We got to be faithful to the Most High. Never mind all the distractions. denominations, Christianity, that's a distraction. All this stuff going on in Washington is distraction. Don't get distracted by this stuff, brothers and sisters. Don't let the Pope distract you. See, people worry about what the Pope is doing. Don't let them distract you. Keep your eyes on the Most High and on His word. Don't worry. He'll prepare you. He's never going to let us be without being ready. He never gets His people unprepared. He's the Messiah is the greatest teacher that this earth has ever known, nor will ever know. And He will not let His disciples be unprepared. Remember that. He's not going to let you and I be unprepared. Ever. You don't got to worry about saying, oh, I got to get out of the city, or I got to go now, or I got to leave. No. Don't worry about that. He's going to guide your steps. He knows where it's time for you to go. See, if He wants you to be somewhere, you should be there, right? Regardless of where it is. And when it's time to go, He's going to lead you. Focus on Him. Focus on His word. Focus on receiving the spirit of righteousness from your Father, the Holy Ghost power, because He will prepare you. And remember, brothers and sisters, everything you're going through right now, every trial, every bump in the road, every situation, the Most High is guiding your steps. He's guiding your path. Okay? Don't forget that. Don't just think that you got problems. Everybody got problems, but He's guiding your path. You're one of His children. He's guiding your steps. So He will lead you in the way you should go, and He'll never lead you astray. Ever, ever. And our goal, remember, our number one goal is to bring honor and glory to our Father. If it means our death, okay. Azariah was about, if He said, look, toss us in the fire then, because we're not bowing to your image. We're not bowing. Because every trial, that's right, is designed for us to get closer to the image of the Most High, for us to be in the image of the Messiah, for us to look just like them. Every trial is for us to get that glow on our face. Every trial is designed by the pressure cooker of life to get us prepared for the time that's just ahead of us. Brothers and sisters, I'm telling you, I don't think we have 10 more years. I don't think we have 10 more years, man. I'm telling you, okay? It's coming quick. It's coming quick. Okay, it's coming real fast. The winds of strife are about to blow. And what's happening now? He's trying to seal 144,000. Let us all be among that number. All it takes is our complete trust in the Most High. That's all it takes, a complete trust. And a trust in His Son, Yahushua, to get us cleansed from all our sin. That's all it takes. Trust Him, brothers and sisters, and He'll prepare you. He will not leave His students. See, as disciples, we are followers of Yahushua. We are followers of Him. He will not leave His students unprepared. He's the greatest teacher ever. He will not allow you to go into a test and not be ready. He's going to have you ready. Okay? Any test comes your way, He's going to have you ready. You all understand? Remember that, brothers. It's real important that we remember these things, because we're going to need them real soon. It's crazy out here. It's getting crazier, and it's going to get even crazier. And people are going to get more arrogant. They're going to get more proud. They're already seeing it. It's happening. And it's just showing you. It's a sign. You say, dang, man, people saying some crazy things. They're doing some crazy things. Yeah. You say, and people will say, well, where's God at? See, you and I know where He is. He's on His throne. And Messiah and Him is preparing His people to bring forth this last warning. That's where He is. See, all this stuff's going on because people that don't keep the covenant with the Most High. All right? That's their business. That's their business. Got nothing to do with us. But we got to keep covenant with the Most High. All right? We got to keep covenant with Him. Praise His name. All right. Let's have a word.